All right, what a race weekend we had. In the 24 hours of Spa, a Porsche won from the pit lane. In IMSA, the Cadillac almost lost it at the end of the race. In NASCAR, well, we know that SVG was racing, so therefore, if it's on a road course, well, he was probably up at the front. And then in Formula 1, George Russell fended off Max Verstappen. My name is John, the Motorsports Enthusiast. I got all my notes right here for this past weekend's racing. Let's get into it. This is the debrief. First, I'm going to start off with the 24 hours of Spa, and honestly, this is a crazy story of the weekend. And a Porsche won the 24 hours of Spa starting from pit lane. Unheard of. It was really uncanny, to be honest. From dead last in a field of nearly 70 cars all the way to the front. The number 80 line speed GP Porsche, driven by Thomas Prenning, Ricardo Feller, and Bastien Bus, took the win in the 79th running of the 24 hours of Spa. And here's the crazy thing of all, the crew had to swap the engine from qualifying, which means that this has just made this whole story even better. And 24 hours later, 541 laps, they got the victory. Unreal. It's Porsche's first Spa win since 2020. And it's the first time that this generation of the 911 GT3R has actually won it outright in front of 132,000 fans. Now, personally, I'm a massive fan of sports car racing. I wish I could caught more of this race. I caught a little bit of the beginning, caught the day-to-night transition, the night-to-day transition, which I think is some of the most beautiful shots in motorsports, as well as a little bit of the end. And let me tell you, it was awesome to see that team win. And my team, the number 50 Ferrari, which has Arthur Leclerc, Charles Leclerc's brother, finished in P5. So I think that's pretty solid. At least one of the Leclerc boys did well this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But now let's talk about, let's talk about Formula 1. Why not? So George Russell has been waiting for this to happen since the start of the season, and he had to beat Max Verstappen for it to happen. George Russell gets the win at the Austrian Grand Prix, the Red Bull Ring, where Max Verstappen has reigned king, and honestly, I thought it was going to happen this weekend again. Russell did exactly what he needed to do, converted his pole position, which has a 50% win rate at Austria. If you qualify on the pole, you have basically a flip of a coin to win the race, which I would take those odds any day of the week, and he had to beat out one of the best four-time champ Max Verstappen. Now, here's what got my attention. It was actually Max. They went through a whole new slew of upgrades and was able to come out second, which I was not expecting. I knew he was going to do well this weekend, but I would not predict that Max Verstappen would finish second this weekend. I thought maybe top 5, maybe a podium, but chasing down George Russell at the end of the race was absolutely just entertainment. You have to go back and watch the end of it because I genuinely thought Max Verstappen could catch him. But shout out to Kimi Antonelli, starting in 4th, finished in 3rd, was the fastest car on track at the end of the race. Kimi Antonelli, I still think, is a championship favorite. Now, on the other hand, Ferrari had a little bit of a rough day. So Hamilton started in 3rd, and he could only manage 5th. Charles Leclerc started in 2nd and came home 8th. That car was not handling well. Rear end of the car was dancing all over the track. Handling woes seemed to really overshadow the upgrades that Ferrari brought this weekend, so not a good running for the Ferraris. And here's your top 10. George Russell, Max Verstappen, Kimi Antonelli, Oscar Piastri, Lewis Hamilton, Isaac Hadjar, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Liam Lawson, and Arvid Lindblad. And the title fight just got a little bit more interesting. The gap has now closed to 40 points between Kimi Antonelli and the second place car, which is now George Russell, surpasses Lewis Hamilton for second in points. Now, he is 40 points behind his teammate, almost a full race. But either way, we know there's a lot of racing to go. There's still over half the season left. George has plenty of time to make a comeback, but Kimi is still on the top step. And for the constructors, Mercedes just keeps on pulling away. They have 302 points, a clean 98 ahead of Ferrari. And if we're being real, Mercedes can't be stopped. You have Red Bull coming to the track, did look like they had great upgrades. If Max had a better starting position and had a little bit of better luck during the race when it comes to when they pit Verstappen, I think he could challenge Mercedes, but still, Mercedes is still the class of the field. Ferrari came out with upgrades, didn't really help. Mercedes did take 2 new power unit allocations for this race, so there's that, but still, class of the field, Mercedes is still going to be the ones to beat going into Silverstone. Now let's talk about IMSA, the Sahlen 6 hours of Watkins Glen. I was going to say Spa. Amazing facility, amazing race. This is what happened. The Whelen Cadillac crew just completely owned this race. They ended up leading 143 out of 182 laps. Jack Aitken, Earl Bamber, and Frederick Vesti turned the pole into a win. It's not the first time we've seen that this weekend. We saw George Russell do that in Austria. And with the win, that is now 8 GTP podiums in a row for that team, plus back-to-back wins. But honestly, it made a lot of people sweat because what happened was Aitken was sitting on a lead of more than 6 seconds when somebody balled it up on the last lap. So he ended up just nursing it home behind the caution. Endurance racing, let me tell you, it's never over till it is over. So let's run through the class winners really quick. In GTP, that number 31 Caddy, rounding out the prototype podium, the number 93 Acura in second, and then Lauren Heinrich dragging the number 5 Porsche up to third. In GTD Pro went to Vassar Sullivan, Jack Hawksworth, and Ben Barnicoat taking the number 14 Lexus to the win from pole. And get this, it's their first one since Sebring back in 2024. And in GTD, it belonged to the Manti crew, Ryan Hardrick, Ricardo Pera, and Richard Leitz in the number 912 Porsche. Also got to give a shout out to my favorite team, AO Racing. Spike won the LMP2 class. Love them. Got Roxy over here, and I need to get that diecast with Spike. They are one of the best teams that we have seen in the LMP2 class. Love what they've been able to do. PJ Hyatt, an amazing team, amazing weekend they had going. So Spike won the LMP2 class. Now let's talk about NASCAR. So first, starting off with the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series from Sonoma. I watched both NASCAR races in their entirety. I watched the Formula One race in its entirety. And let me tell you that NASCAR, we saw a masterclass this weekend with Shane Van Gisbergen. He started on pole, led 66 of 79 laps, drove it home, his 6th career win in the series, and every single one of them obviously has come on a road course. He's not that great at ovals yet, but it's the first guy to ever hit 6 road course wins in the series. He beat Connor Zilic to the start by just over a second. Now, honestly, I got to give the tip of the hat to Connor Zilic this weekend. Had to start all the way in the back, finished P2. We know how good Connor Zilic is in the O'Reilly series, and it transitioned a little bit into the Cup series, and I'll explain that in a bit. But let me give you your top 5 really quick. Van Gisbergen up in front, Zilic, Brent Cruz, Anthony Alfredo, and Parker Retzloff. Yes, 2 Viking Motorsport Chevrolets up there, 4th and 5th. They were battling up there all race long. Now, I don't know what's gotten into that team recently. I love seeing it though, and it's really cool to see a team like that shake up the top spot and be competitive almost now week over week. We saw them be extremely competitive in San Diego. That road course program is working very, very well for them. Now, if you're new to NASCAR, you're probably wondering what the heck is the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series? Well, originally this was the Busch Series, and it turned into the Nationwide Series. Obviously, that turned into the Xfinity. Now it's the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. It's a step down from the NASCAR Cup Series, but I think it's some of the best racing in NASCAR in my opinion. Speaking of the NASCAR Cup Series, let's talk about the race that just ended just a few hours ago. I'm recording this at 9:30 at night. The NASCAR Cup Series Toyota Save Mart 350. And let me tell you, SVG, even with a crappy car, can still go out there and get the job done. SVG backed up his Saturday win, leading 75 out of 110 laps, holding off Chase Briscoe that without a late race blunder in turn 1, very well could have passed Shane Van Gisbergen on track, because Shane, I think this is the most I've seen him struggle and still get a win since he's been in the Cup Series. And for once, he actually had to start from a little bit further on back than the front row. Ty Gibbs grabbed the pole, which was a crazy pole to see, because this shows continued success with Ty, continued progress with Ty to become one of the best road course racers we've seen over the last couple years. So throw Ty Gibbs into that mix. He actually was one of the fastest cars on track by the end of the race. Little bit of a challenge for Shane, something he's not typically used to, but low-key, it didn't matter. He came in riding a 5-race Cup road course winning streak, and he kept it rolling. He now has 8 wins. He won the race, by the way. He now has 8 wins on road courses in his NASCAR Cup Series career. That ties Tony Stewart for the second most all-time, right behind my favorite driver, Jeff Gordon. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I think it's great to see Shane Van Gisbergen out front and see him breaking records, because records are meant to be broken. And when you get a guy like SVG coming over from the V8 Supercar Series, that this is his bread and butter, it's going to happen. It makes a lot of sense. Now, we're going to have to wait until next season to see if he can break Jeff Gordon's record. But either way, the big thing about this race is the fact that it actually started the 2026 NASCAR In-Season Challenge, and the bracket is officially live. Had a couple upsets. Look at Tyler Reddick. Look at the issues he had all day. Let's talk about him really quick. He had a major issue that put him 6 laps down, and that is giving Denny Hamlin, who got spun by Carson Hocevar, came back just a little bit to have a 1-point lead. Yes, Denny Hamlin has a 1-point lead now over Tyler Reddick going into Chicagoland this upcoming weekend. So, very crazy happenings in NASCAR right now, but this is your Sonoma recap of the top 10. Shane Van Gisbergen comes home in first, Chase Briscoe in second, Ty Gibbs in third, Kyle Larson in fourth, followed by Christopher Bell with that broken wrist in P5. Unbelievable drive he was able to finish that way. Ryan Blaney in sixth, Connor Zilic in seventh, his first top 10 in the NASCAR Cup Series. Great to see him actually finish one of these damn things. Michael McDowell, Ryan Preece, and Alex Bowman rounding out the top 10. I gotta give 3 shout outs. Ty Gibbs for silencing all the haters. You can call him a Nepo baby if you want, but he is a great road course racer. He's got to win this season, and he is silencing the haters. Second, Connor Zilic. Yes, he actually finished the damn race on the road course. Thank God, because I had him at Coda, got spun twice. We know what happened at Watkins Glen. Chicago, well, he got doored by Austin Hill. And so this is just one of the first times that we've seen Connor Zilisch actually perform and be up at the top 5 all day long. Came home in 7th because that car was struggling towards the end. And then Alex Bowman finally was able to get a top 10. And the Hendrick boys were all up front at the beginning of the race, towards the middle of the race and the end of the race, with you had Kyle Larson up there, you had William Byron as well, and you had Chase Elliott. I believe all cars, if I'm not mistaken, finished in the top 20. So great weekend for them. But look, I gotta say, looking at some of my notes here, the road courses are done for the season, and this may be the last time that we see Shane Van Gisbergen dominate a race like this. I'll make a prediction. I don't think it's going to be the last time that we see him in victory lane, though. I think he may sneak out another win sometime later in the year. But let me tell you, he got the Sonoma sweep, which is an amazing victory. He won the Zeus car on Saturday in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, won this past, I guess, today, when I'm recording this on the 20th of June in the Red Bull car. Shane Van Gisbergen, one of the best road course racers we've seen. So looking back at it, we have George Russell winning in Austria. The Cadillac survives the 6 hours of the Glen. SVG sweeps the whole show for NASCAR, and Lion Speed pulls off low-key a miracle at Spa. And let me tell you, this is going to be a brand new series I'm going to start. I'm going to try to get this out as quickly as I can. Probably going to be Monday morning, but I'm going to try to cover all the races that I watched this season. Now this is, or all weekend rather. I'm not going to be able to watch every single race. That's virtually impossible. I do have to live and eat and breathe, right? But I will try to cover as many as I can. But this weekend was a massive weekend of racing, and looking through the schedule, we have a lot of great racing coming up next weekend. We have IndyCar, we have Formula One, we have NASCAR. My bread and butter next weekend. I can't wait for that because we have Silverstone and we have Chicagoland. I cannot wait for NASCAR to be back at Chicagoland in the Mid-Ohio for IndyCar. And if you enjoyed the show, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything going on in the motorsport world. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can and give you brief recaps every single either Sunday night or Monday. And so make sure to hit that subscribe button. And look, check out this cool shirt that I got from the Nashville flea market today, actually. It's really neat, from Laguna Seca back in 1997. A little tight, but you know what? I'm still going to wear it, still going to rep it. So hope you enjoyed the Enthusiast debrief. And if you have any thoughts on this past weekend's racing, whether it's IMSA, whether it's the GT World Challenge with the 24 Hours of Spa, NASCAR Cup Series, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, or Formula One, let me know your thoughts in the comments. My name's John, the Motorsports Enthusiast. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.